All right, welcome everybody. This is Coach Stacie here with Coach Ali, and we are on week 2 of um, gym life balance. And if you didn't listen to last week, you're really going to need to go back and listen in order to set this one up well. So, really want to encourage you to do that. But we like to cover gym life balance in the month of September because here in the US, that's when kids are going back to school and they tend to really struggle with this. They tend to be pretty overwhelmed. And so, this is a great time to help them learn the skills that they need. High level gymnasts are dealing with time management issues more than anyone their age and more than a lot of adults ever will. And so this is a skill they need to learn. Now, it doesn't have to be you that teaches them that. You can send them our way, but we want to equip you in some of the things that we teach them. And one of the things that we believe is the most important when planning out your time is actually starting with free time and having fun. In the US, we tend to be so focused, and I would say in a lot of the world, on accomplishing and like what we're going to get done. And we think about doing time management for the sole purpose of being more productive and getting more done. But time management is about creating a life you want to live. And so we really encourage people to actually start with figuring out how they're going to find free time. Because here's the thing about the brain. Your brain needs the time to decompress and to, we call it recreation, to recreate, to rest. And if you don't give your brain that on purpose, it will take it whenever it can in ways that then don't usually actually accomplish it. That's when you're staring off into space. That's when you're not being productive in the time that you are planned to be productive. That's when you're not getting your stuff done that you're supposed to be getting done because your brain is like, I'm going to scroll social media or I'm going to do something else because it's going to take the break whether you give it to it or not. So planning, how am I going to give it to it in ways that will actually be useful is so important. Ali, how do you see this in the gym?
Okay, well, first, we talk about planning time outside of the gym, but I think a lot of us saw this, especially during some of the COVID breaks, where girls were in the gym less and they were doing fun things and they came back and feel refreshed. So obviously that was a little longer out of the gym than we wanted and a little bit more stress and different things in the environment than just taking a small break. But I think that we've all seen that like refresh where you shut down for the week of 4th of July. I've heard a lot of gyms doing that and they come back and they've just like rejuvenated. They went with their family or their friends and did an activity and they have that actual rejuvenation of having fun. And then when they get back in the gym, they're ready, they're focused. And that week off physically is less like losing that physical training for a week is usually less important than that full week of like mental reset. Or a lot of times when I was coaching college, after nationals or conference, whenever the season ended for us, hopefully nationals, we always did, for sure, one full week of like no activity for the girls. Not just to rest your body, but to like just rejuvenate, and gave them no anything. And then after a week, then they were allowed to maybe go do some fun activities, go lift a little again, maybe go play some sports at the rec or do whatever they wanted at the rec center, but still no gymnastics. And just giving them that break kind of gave them that rejuvenation. So that's how I've seen it, like taking breaks outside of the gym, girls that have a really healthy balance of like being with friends on a weekend and then coming back in and being able to like let gymnastics out of their brain and then be able to focus on gymnastics is very, very helpful. In the gym, I also see this though, because we spend so many hours in the gym, it's important that there's also fun during our gymnastics time. So for you as a coach, I think it's really important to think, okay, I can't necessarily plan my gymnast fun outside of the gym, right? You can encourage it, but that's like really on them. But what's on you is that if they're there for 20 hours a week and you want them to be focused for all 20 hours, fun is going to be an important part of continuing to help them grow and be able to focus and have fun. And make them want to be there more. Like if they are going to be there 20 hours a week, they have to have some fun while they're there. And that doesn't mean like you don't have any assignments, you don't do anything, but like just thinking about how can I incorporate a game this week? How can I incorporate a theme week? How could I incorporate a challenge for the girls? And just like different things like that, I've seen a big difference in productivity for the girls. I mean, when you all of a sudden are like, you know what I'm going to do for conditioning today? I'm going to do a ninja course. And then all of a sudden you have girls climbing the rope without their legs that you're like, wait a second, you usually whine and complain and can't make it halfway up. And now that it's a ninja course, you can do the whole thing. What is happening? And you have those moments because it's fun and they can let go, or all of a sudden they're like sprinting at the end of practice trying to get to the foam cube before their person next to them. If you're just running sprints, they look like they're going to die and fall over. And now all of a sudden, if you get the foam cube first, everybody is like, it has more energy than you've ever seen before. That's because it's the rejuvenation of the fun. So I know I kind of like went on and on there, but I just want to point out that it's important for them to have fun outside of the gym. I think you can encourage that as a coach. I think that, you know, considering balances of, I mean, we're not experts in when you should give girls time off and when you shouldn't, but just like having that consideration of like, how often should they be here? How often should they not? I just like to point out, like we made a change quite a while ago, actually, where we did have Friday practices, but we made them a little bit shorter to allow girls to make it to their high school football games. And it made a huge difference because they came in and they were like, okay, I only have 2 hours today to get done what I want to get done. They'd get more done in that 2 hours than they would in a normal practice. And then I get to go to this football game and hang out and be like a normal high school athlete. And like that refresh, that was like mind-blowing for us. We're like, wow, we can give them less practice hours, they get more done, and they have a life balance there. So when they come back into the gym, they're not mad at us the whole time because they missed out on all this stuff with their friends.
Yeah.
And so I just like, those are just some examples of how I've seen this work, how you can start thinking about it as a coach and how you want to include this in your programming and your team.
Yeah. So I want to give a little shout out. We work pretty closely with Claudia and Leah, who created Shine Creative, and they do gymnastics games. And so they have Balance, Palace, and Jazz, both of which are super fun. Kids love. So we will put a link in the show notes for that if you want to check them out. But figuring out ways. I have one girl that I've been coaching more recently, and we create goals of like skills she's feeling afraid of and what she's going to work on. And every week I'm like, all right, how'd you get that skill? And she's like, well, I did use the mindset tools, but also we had a team challenge. And like, if I didn't get it, then everyone was going to have to climb the rope, which I don't love using strength and conditioning for that. But she's so motivated by competition that she was very much able to move up her skills when that happened. So doing fun things like that can really help in the gym. But I do also want to say that for what Ali was talking about, their gym, I think, Ali, your gym, how your level 10s workout
15 hours a week.
15 hours a week. And every year sends kids to college scholarships, has kids at nationals, like high level gym, high level productivity, small amount of hours compared to like, I also have a level 7 I'm working with who's in the gym for 25 hours a week. And she's not elite level. She's just level 7. So like, I think that it can also be that sometimes we just do as coaches well, this is how we did it when I was an athlete. This is how many, like I have in my brain, a level 7 should work out 16 hours a week. A level 9 should work out 20 hours a week, because that's what our gym did growing up. And I've never really questioned that. In fact, when I started working with Ali and they were doing 15 hours a week, I'm like, that can't be, like, what? How are they, but here's what I know about time management in general. For those of you who didn't listen to last week, like I'm a time management nerd. This is my, this is what I love. And here's the thing. They've done so many studies all over the world around like maximum productivity. And, in the US, 40 hours a week is kind of the minimum norm. But studies have actually shown 30 hours a week is ideal for productivity, that you actually get more done at 30 hours a week than you do at 50. when you get above 40 and you start doing more than that, your actual overall productivity decreases, not just in proportion to the amount of time spent, but literally your total productivity will decrease because your brain is tired and it makes mistakes. And then you have to go back and fix those mistakes. So the same thing happens in the gym. Like, our prefrontal cortex, the part of their brain that they have to use when they're like going all out for something and they're focusing and they're, thinking through their cues and they're figuring out their corrections and all of that, uses more energy than any other organ in our body. And so our primary brain that's responsible for our survival is like, no, you don't get to use the prefrontal cortex that much. We will literally die. We can't keep up that amount of energy. There's no way your gymnast can actually concentrate for that many hours in the gym. Their brain will check out. It has to. And when it does is when they start making mistakes. It's when injuries happen, and it's when they start picking up bad habits. And then you have to spend more time going back, reteaching those things, getting rid of the habits, all of that. And so the same thing happens in, like, with corporate America, or with, even me and in us doing this company. There's times where, I'm like, Ali, I worked till like 10 o'clock last night working on our website. And then I had to redo all of it this morning because I made so many mistakes and there was a wrong link and
Forgot to press save.
I forgot to press save. I redid the entire thing. When we are not fresh, we actually get a lot less done. So in terms of when you're trying to figure out how many hours your gym should go, I just would encourage you to bring that into consideration, that there is only so many hours that their brain can actually concentrate and be engaged. And sometimes when they're shorter hours, you concentrate and engage so much more that your productivity is actually higher. So fun time outside of the gym. When we're working with the gymnasts in our program, we actually require them for this week to figure out a fun hobby that they are going to do every day.
Mm-hmm.
Knitting, coloring, taking a bath, reading, getting outside and having, a nice little leisurely walk. And then one thing on the weekend that they really enjoy that will really rejuvenate them. And we require them to plan it in and to figure it out. Because this is the other reason, like, gymnasts start getting older. And if gymnastics isn't as fun because they're dealing with other things like stress and fear of a skill, they're not progressing as much anymore, any of those kinds of things, and they have no time for fun in their life, this is when they're more likely to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Or not even just that they don't have time, they're just not doing it. They're scrolling on social media instead. They're numbing out to Netflix instead. They're doing things that don't actually rejuvenate and refresh them. Scrolling, I actually give myself, time to scroll for fun. But it's different when I'm like scrolling for fun versus when I'm starting to zone out and like not actually rejuvenating. So we really try to encourage them to figure that out. And then the other reason that's really important is helping them to figure out who they are outside of a gymnast. So Ali, you want to finish us up with that?
Yeah, just I work with some college girls and or high school girls that gymnastics is going to be done when they are done. And one of their biggest fears is like, what do I do if I don't have gymnastics? Who am I if I don't have gymnastics? And it is shocking to me. I mean, not shocking because of how many hours they spend in the gym, but like shocking to me at the same time of like how many girls like actually can't think of something fun they like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it gets down to them, like me having to like pull out different ideas of like what might be fun for them. And they like cannot brainstorm.
Yeah, when I say we make them figure something out, I literally, like, this is one of our hardest weeks. Most of them cannot figure out something fun that they want to put in that's not like being at the gym.
And so I think it's like important to remember, like, not every girl is meant to be in gymnastics for their whole life, right? Like sometimes it's a good fit, sometimes it's not. And some of them stay in it just because they're afraid to quit because they don't know anything else. They literally have no idea what to do, who they are, anything fun that could possibly be there other than gymnastics. And so it's great that they love gymnastics. Well, do or don't love gymnastics, but they have to be able to start finding other things that they love outside of the sport to feel like a whole person and to
Yeah.
feel like other things matter. And that plays a role even once they get into competition season. I won't get too deep into this because we talk a lot about it, but like when everything is gymnastics and their whole life and identity is tied to gymnastics, that's when like they start bombing competitions because like they're nobody without it.
Yeah.
And they start really struggling with like any kind of loss or any kind of anything else because it defines who they are. And this can help them define themselves in multiple ways and be an amazing gymnast. And so I just think it's really important to like help them find enjoyment in other things and help them be able to live a full life even outside of the gym. And yeah, it's just amazing how, I mean, I've had girls that are like, oh my gosh, I tried doing X, Y, and Z, and now it's so fun. And like, then they're not scrolling and they're not binging Netflix and they're using their brain to do something more stimulating and more. And like Stacie said, yes, there's times where it is stimulating, but there are times when it's just like numbing. So when they can find things that are actually stimulating and fun for them, it's going to actually rejuvenate them even more in the gym. So giving them the permission basically to do things outside of gymnastics for fun is going to continue to help them be more focused in gymnastics. It's a
Yeah.
little selfish, but I like it.
Yeah. I love it. Well, and so, so with that, let's get practical. If you're following our little jar method and you put a jar, this week's thing that they're going to put in the jar is that they planned, you know, something fun that's small, like a 15 minutes. 20 minutes, something fun every single day, and then of one bigger fun thing over the weekend. And so they get to put in a bead each day for doing their fun thing, even when they didn't feel like they would have time. Because this is where a lot of them are like, if I go home and do my fun thing, I'm not going to get my homework done. But it's like, no, your brain is actually going to be more ready to like get your homework done faster if it has a little time to rejuvenate. Another very practical thing can be encouraging them to choose their own limits on social media. So like if you go into, I'm sure they have it on Android too, but if you go into your iPhone, you can set limits on apps. And so for me, I set a limit that I can't look at Instagram on Sundays. And then I set, you know, a time limit the rest of the week. And I just, you know, it's my own limit. Nobody else is telling me how much time I can spend, but I decide ahead of time with my prefrontal cortex how much time I want to spend. And then, yes, I can just bypass that time limit if I want to. It's not locked, but it helps me in the moment go like, oh yeah, this isn't how I wanted to spend my evening. And so encouraging them to potentially do that with their phones. A lot of them get home from gym, they're super tired. They spend an hour and a half doom scrolling, as you call it, and then they're up till midnight, 1 o'clock doing their homework, and then they don't get enough sleep, their muscles don't rebuild, they don't have enough energy, and it just becomes this like repetitive process. So helping them, it's hard to break out of, it's hard as adults. So helping them be motivated to do it by like, this is going to give you, this is one of the things I tell them all the time is I'm like, you are choosing to sacrifice so many of these things to be in the gym. Like time with friends, time going to football games, time just being a normal kid, able to just sit and watch things for hours after school, whatever. Make the time worth it. And you're going to make the time worth it by being able to be energized and rejuvenated and ready to be there when you're there. So even though some of these things feel difficult, it's worth it because it's going to make the time in the gym so much more fun and productive. All right, next week we are going to talk about homework. So tune in and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.